Hi guys. So during this series of labs, you'll be learning basic building blocks of machine learning step by step. So I have series of samples which will explain machine learning in a very simplified manner. So for this session, I'll be using a sample data set which is coming from automobile industry. Today we will try to learn the simple regression model to machine learn and predict car prices. So I have a pre-populated sample. I'm inside the Azure Machine Learning Studio, and I have pre-populated data sample related to automobile. So what I'll do is I will drag this. This is we call this machine learning canvas, modeling canvas. So I have a sample data set. Let's briefly look at what data we have in this sample data set. So in any machine learning exercise, so the number one fact, the first fact is the raw data set. So as you can see, this data set has many records. In case it has 205 records related to car prices, and you can see this data contain different parameters such as the make of the car, the fuel type, then body style, the engine location, wheelbase, length of the car, width of the car. So you can see there are a lot of parameters in data set. So what we are trying to do is based on these parameters, we are trying to see is there any correlation of these features to price of the car. That's what we are trying to model. So in any machine learning or the traditional BI, if you take traditional BI, it's mainly about descriptive statistics, and it's based on past data, right? The difference of machine learning is that you start with something historical and you create, if you try to create a model out of this existing data and try to see if you can help this model to predict future values, right? In this example, what we are trying to do is we have the historical values of car sales, and we have a lot of parameters associated with those vehicles, and we are trying to see if we found a new car, so can we predict this value of this car using this model. That's what we are trying to do. For this type of exercise, number one, you need to define the problem, then you need to find a sample data and you create a machine learning model, then you need to train the model using data, and you have to test, you have to predict the future values. That is the flow. For this my simple exercise, I'm going to predict the price of the car, and in the traditional regression model, the multiple linear regression model, so you say the car price is a function of the different variables that we have in the data set. So we call these variables as features. So you can say body type is influence the car price, the fuel type is influence the car price, so engine size. So there can be several parameters that will affect the price of the car. Then we feed this data into a machine learning algorithm or a model, so it will identify its own parameters and come up with a model where you can predict. In this case we call this it as a linear regression, but in the future, like in the series, we will discuss about these statistical concepts in detail. But today we will try to understand how we can use Azure Studio to model this machine learning problem. So as I started, so I have the base data here. So the next important problem in machine learning is cleansing data. So when you have sample data, you need to first clean it. So I'm going to do that. So first I need to select columns for this data model. So I connect my data set into select column. These are machine learning building blocks that's available in Asia. So I am going to select the columns that I am planning to use. So I can basically select all columns, and I'm not much interested in certain data, so I can extract from the model. So I have selected the columns for the data machine learning model. Now I need to clean them. So I have a component to clean data. So we call it clean missing data. So if I connect these two, now this data will pipe into this clean missing data component, and actually I can run it and see. So if I, yeah, we will just complete the flow first. So then again, for this, if you look at my machine learning model, I am interested in few columns, few features to select in creating this machine learning model. So I will select columns again. This time I'll be connecting this, and I'll be selecting few include. So I can type column names. So I am interested in make of the vehicle, the fuel type, let's say body style, let's say wheelbase, and also I'm interested in price. So yeah, wheelbase, length, width, height, no, engine type. Let's say these are the parameters that will determine the price of the vehicle. This is a sample, so you can select as you want, and that step is done. So once you have this select columns, now you have to split the data set. One data set is to train the model, and the other data set is to test the model, right? So I will use a component called split data. So I'll pipe in this cleansed data into split data model. So, and I can say 80%. 0.8 means, so 80% of data will go to train the model, and the remaining fraction, that's 20%, will go to the test model. So as you can see, the now flow is, you have cleansed data, you have selected a few columns, and now you have splitted data into two streams, one to train the machine learning model, the other one is to test the machine learning model. So now I am connecting my train machine learning model. So it's called train model component, and for train model component you need to select an algorithm or a model that will predict. So in this case I am using regression a regression algorithm. So I'll use the basic regression algorithm. We call it linear regression, and you have to connect the linear regression model into the train model, and also you have to connect the train data into train model, and when you connect these two, this data set will be trained using the regression model. So that's the idea behind these three elements. So you connect train data, you connect training algorithm, then this will generate a model behind the scene, and it will be used to predict, right? So once this is done, the next step, is to connect a score, like we call it a score model. So I'm using a score model here. So the idea behind the score model is to rate the prediction values, and it gives with a weight and a percentage. So I will explain when I run through the data. So I connect this train model into score model, and also now we have a trained model, so I have to pass through test data. So I have to run test data against the trained model. So I am connecting the test data from this end and the train model from the other end. Then the score model will function. Finally we need to evaluate this model. Evaluate this model. So it's called evaluate model. So I'm connecting this final piece on this machine learning workflow. So so for the train model, you need to say that I am interested in predicting price. So I am trying to predict price. If you look at the whole purpose of doing this exercise is to predict price. So all the pieces of this model now are connected together.